Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's just jump right in today, because we're breaking down our source material to talk about a feeling we all know, but one that takes on a wildly different shape depending on how your brain is wired. We're talking about boredom. But, we're not just looking at boredom as some mild, fleeting annoyance. Oh no, we are digging into the data to understand why boredom is actually an intensely uncomfortable and literally painful reality for ADHD brains. So, let's get into it. You totally know the feeling. I was bored, complete with that classic shrug. And hey, it's a completely universal human experience, right? Everyone gets bored. But here's the thing. For those of us with ADHD, boredom escalates from a simple lack of interest into a painful, core feature of the condition itself. It's really not just a passing mood. It's a profound state of being that can heavily derail your daily life. So why exactly does the ADHD brain react so aggressively to something as simple as waiting in line at the grocery store or doing a mundane chore? That brings us to Section 1, the hungry ADHD brain. To understand why this intense boredom happens, we're looking at the findings of ADHD researcher Dr. Patrick LeCount. What's absolutely fascinating here is the underlying biological reality. See, whether or not we get bored isn't just about the activity in front of us. It's really about our brain's ability to regulate attention. In ADHD, there's reduced activation in the frontostriatal network, which includes the prefrontal cortex, or PFC. And because of this reduced activation, ADHD brains are just chronically understimulated. Basically, an activity most people might find just a little bit dull, it can be so painfully boring for an ADHD brain that it literally becomes difficult to tolerate. So the crucial takeaway here is not being prone to boredom isn't some character flaw or just a personal dislike. Not at all. This state actually triggers intensely negative emotional experiences. We're talking anger, depression, and anxiety. The source material points out that the networks in our brain governing executive functions literally depend on stimulation to work properly. It's not just that the ADHD brain doesn't like being bored, it's that the brain actively stops functioning as well when it is. Which leads us straight into Section 2, dopamine-seeking autopilot. When an activity isn't engaging enough and those executive functions start dropping offline, the brain enters an agitation phase, desperately seeking out dopamine on complete autopilot. And man, this brilliantly illustrates the sheer chaos that can ensue. When the ADHD brain is starving for stimulation, it goes looking for it. The source shares this list compiled right from the ADHD community, detailing exactly what this dopamine-seeking behavior looks like in the wild. We've got binge eating, day drinking, impulse spending, obsessing over media coverage, or maybe taking on way too many projects, picking fights with everyone, or, as the source playfully notes, throwing a shoe at a sibling. I mean, have you ever picked up your phone to do a hobby and suddenly found yourself about to text an ex instead? Yeah, that is the autopilot in full effect. Listen, if you've ever found yourself doing any of these things, you gotta recognize it for what it actually is, a biological coping mechanism. It might seem completely chaotic or even destructive to the people around us, but to a dopamine-starved brain, it makes perfect logical sense. Your brain is quite literally trying to medicate itself just to get its executive functions back online. Seriously, this isn't a moral failing, it's just biology seeking balance. But that brings up a really important question for us to consider. If our brain just needs stimulation to function, why on earth do we so often default to these chaotic, unhealthy paths instead of productive ones? Like, why don't we instinctively choose to clean the house or finish a project when we need a dopamine hit? Well, think about this comparison. Imagine you are physically starving. You're probably not going to take the time to chop vegetables and cook a perfectly balanced meal, right? No, you're going to hit the McDonald's drive-thru because it is the absolute easiest, quickest source of calories. It is the exact same mechanism with the brain. When the brain is intensely hungry for dopamine, we naturally turn to the quickest, easiest source. And often, that source isn't the healthiest. And honestly, half the time, it's not even what we actually want to be doing. Okay, Section 3, the STOP method. How do we take the wheel back from our brain's frantic search for fast food dopamine? Let's explore a highly actionable mindfulness solution introduced in the source material. It's appropriately called the STOP method, and it outlines 4 incredibly simple steps to help you practice regaining control in real time. Number 1, stop for a sec. Just hit the pause button on whatever chaotic activity you find yourself doing. Number 2, take a breath. Number 3, observe what's going on inside and around you. And number 4, proceed. Now, let's take a closer look at that really vital third step. During that observe step, this is the exact question you need to ask yourself. Am I doing this because I'm bored? Are you arguing with a total stranger on the internet because it's genuinely important to you? Or simply because your brain is understimulated? Are you still playing that video game because you're having fun? Or are you just having a really hard time stopping? Check in with your body. Are you tired? Are you hungry? This step is all about active, real-time evaluation. And I want to make sure we highlight this perfectly. The point of this exercise is absolutely not to shame yourself into doing something differently. Mindfulness creates awareness so you actually have choices. If you realize you're just doom scrolling because you're bored, you don't have to stop immediately. The source notes that sometimes you might decide to just give yourself a time limit, like, okay, I'm really enjoying being right in this internet argument right now, so in 15 minutes I'll log off. By taking yourself off autopilot, you give yourself the power to actually choose. Moving on to our final section, brain planning your dopamine. Now that we know how to catch ourselves in the moment, let's talk about how we can proactively prepare for the future. Because honestly, the truth is, we usually know exactly when boredom is going to strike. Think about these super predictable situations. The novelty of a new job starting to wear off, settling into a really comfortable long-term relationship, or, hey, facing a global pandemic and being stuck at home for months on end. In these scenarios, we know for a fact we are going to be understimulated, we know we're going to seek dopamine, and thanks to our new self-awareness, we know what our chaotic go-to sources of stimulation usually are. And this brings us to a really powerful analogy from the source material. Just the same way we can meal plan on a Sunday to make it easier to make healthy physical food choices throughout the week, we can engage in brain planning. Brain planning means taking agency over your future dopamine sources. If you know you're entering a really boring phase at work, you can intentionally plan healthy, high dopamine activities into your evenings so you don't end up picking a fight with your partner just to feel something. You can actively take steps to make the healthy options the easiest options. Which leaves us with this final thought for today's explainer. I want you to look at whatever you're doing right now or whatever you find yourself doing immediately after this. Ask yourself, what is your brain hungry for right now? Are your current actions actually aligned with your goals, or are you just stuck in the drive-thru on dopamine autopilot? Remember, just pause, take a breath, and observe. You always have a choice. Thanks so much for learning with us today, and we'll catch you next time.